What's up, everybody, and welcome to another Seven Figure Photographer Live. It's a beautiful day outside, a beautiful fall day. It's still too warm here in Idaho. What is it like for you guys, wherever you're watching from? Please make sure to comment. Let us know who's here hanging out with us. Today, I have Mia and I were talking. We were out running some errands, and she was helping. We actually had kind of a funny experience trying to come up with what we were going to talk about for live today, which I will not go into detail about because it was thoroughly inappropriate. But we came up with this idea of talking about becoming or being a problem solver in your business. And I think that it's something that's really, really important. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because that's one of the things that I love doing, is being a problem solver. And finally, we have Mia back. I told him we were inappropriate in our thought of what we were trying to I didn't give details, but and it was actually her. She was the one that was the funny part. It was all you. I wasn't even the one that spurred the inappropriate topics. She's here. Let's everybody see Mia real quick, just so you can see how red she is. Like she was thoroughly inappropriate. Let's just go with that. Dang it, I cannot get this right today. Here we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. I do not have an intro because I realized the other day the reason I couldn't do an intro is because I'd pulled the SD card out of my little video player thingy, and because I had realized I had a problem. I had a shoot and I had no card anywhere in the studio because we run cards back and forth between the house and here. So I didn't have a card. I was like, oh, I'll just rob the card from my black magic thing, and yeah, so I forgot to put it back. So there's a problem that I need to solve. What is my problem with all my cards? But that's what we got in store for you today, talking about I probably shouldn't clap my hands. That's probably really loud. Tell me when you hear that, if it's loud. Maybe it's not so bad. Oh, you don't have a mic yet, so there, now you do. Anyway, those of you who are here hanging out with us, please do comment, say hi, tell us where you're watching from. We're not going to do the intro. We're just going to jump into this. Did you come up with the list of?
I have a list of questions.
Of questions?
No, like
Are you going to surprise me with this stuff?
No. I did what I get as questions from people, from customers, and how we solve them. Like, that's how my mind worked to solve.
Oh, okay. Do I get to see these before we?
I don't know. You're on right now, so I'm going to go with the answers no.
Oh, okay, fun. Okay, so anyway, part of what I think is really challenging about being in business, and one of the things like I see crazy in my business right now, is that oftentimes we don't know that there's a problem there. And I think that being able to listen and to pay attention to things, to understand that there is a problem, is the first vital aspect of what you're doing. Now, one of the problems I'm going to talk about today is a problem that we've actually done, I think, a really good job at solving. However, on that same note, like, we're not crazy strict about it. But what that is in years past, I've actually run into in my sales room, I've run into the objection of, oh, well, I bought big pictures, wall portraits for my last child, and they're still sitting on the floor, and I've never actually hung them up. And so I started getting that a couple of times. In fact, I started losing money, leaving money on the table because clients were telling me this, and I was like, well, you still should buy these for your next kid, because what happens when you do hang them up? You're going to regret that you don't have them. And there's ways to deal with this in dealing with your objections in your sales room. But for me, the way that I learned how to deal with it is, well, first of all, I recognized that this was happening regularly. It was happening often. And so it was one of those things that I was like, I had to listen. I had to hear that people were actually saying this, and I had to make that change. Some of these things I've told you guys about many times, but the fix to that was to start offering in-home or installs. It is one of my selling points now. When I'm selling to clients and they start talking and they start asking about sizes and, or they'll just simply say, oh, I bet that's a hard one to hang. My husband's going to love me for that. And I'll throw in there, oh, don't worry, we actually come in and install those for you. Even when I'm selling the product or when I'm showing wall portraits and I'm talking about it, that's one of those things that I throw in there. One of the perks of what we offer is we'll actually come in and hang them for you, so you don't have to add another thing to your husband's honey-do list. It is a huge selling factor. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people like just that trigger of emotion or excitement, like, oh, wow, if that's the case, then yeah, I'm willing to buy those. Another one that I recognized in my business at one point, a couple years ago, we started having clients that would come in, and I started to notice clients constantly saying, oh, well, I notice, or like, I don't really know what we're doing today. Like, we're just here and trusting the process, which oftentimes we tell people to trust the process. But I started to hear that and see that oftentimes. And so the things that we did to change that and to fix that was to start doing in-home consultations, or also just better our process in the email thing. Now, that's actually a current issue right now. We switched back over to Tave, and we're hearing that a lot from customers. They're not getting emails, different things like that. I don't so much think that that's on the Tave side. I think that's on the Sam side, because I've just not set something up, and I haven't made it enough of a priority to make sure that's fixed. That being said, it would make my life a lot easier if I did fix it, but at the same time, the in-home consultation kind of carries over and takes care of what? You're giving me...
Yeah, but they still complain. You should still fix it.
I don't know that there's so much complaining. They're just like, I haven't gotten an email. Like,
or I got an email that said I was scheduled for this time, but I'm scheduled for this time.
That one's... No, that was because what had happened was they were originally scheduled. I understand those ones. And that's, yes, it still could be clarified just in the wording in the email. Like, if you already have, most of it is like when you've already scheduled an in-home consultation and they're getting an email that says, hey, don't forget to schedule your in-home consultation. That's one of the biggest ones. And that the wording in that could simply just be, if you've already scheduled this with somebody in the office, don't just ignore this email. I mean, that's really the problem. And one of the challenges is that we write those emails and they're kind of generalized. And then year over year, things change and we start to realize things. But then I never changed the emails. One of the, like, we got the questionnaires. People were like, I was even noticing on the questionnaire, people were like marking that they graduate in 2019. And I'm like, why would they be contacting me? Well, it was because my questionnaire only had like options up to 2019. I hadn't updated it since 2019. And so that was one of those things I had to run in or jump in and fix. So real quick, shout out to Tim Goetz. Hope you're feeling good. I know you just barely got home. He's had some fun medical surgery. Yeah. And so glad to see that he's home and safe. I'm sure he was a little bit scared about that. Clint Parrish, welcome. Oh, I thought his little emoji had a mask on. I thought maybe he had COVID or something. So again, welcome everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. So interestingly, Mia's got a smirk on her face. I'm going to switch to your video, so don't pick your nose or anything. Okay, so what are some of the ones that you wrote? So before we got started, I told Mia, because I was like, okay, I want you to write down some of this. Now I'm scared because, like, as much as I think I can always handle it with you, then you always like.
Dude, but you asked for things that we solve, right?
That we've solved? Okay, we can do it if we've solved it. Hi, Laquita.
Yeah.
Okay, so hit me with one. And then we'll talk about what we did to solve it.
Oh, okay. So I was trying to tell Sam, what I did was I wrote down the different questions that I hear customers ask that I think are consistent. Yeah. And then I was trying to think of, okay, what is it within our system or our process that solves that problem, so that when I'm talking to him, I can be like, don't worry, we got you, because blah, 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 blah. Okay, so one of the things I think you do quite well, we'll start with the good stuff.
Okay, we can do this.
You happy now?
Yeah. Where's my water?
I get a lot of times, one of our questions on our thing, I'll read it if I can find it.
And on our thing, what she's talking about is our
call script. So what do you know about the senior portrait, or what do you know about senior portraits, and have you considered what you will do with your portraits? So most often people are like, I don't know, it's my first kid, or it's my third kid, but it's been 5 years. Like, they never give me a good answer. I've never gotten a good answer off that one. I actually hate that question. Sam knows that.
Do you realize the purpose for the question?
Oh, I absolutely do. It doesn't mean I can't still not like it.
So just for clarification purposes for everybody else out there in La La Land about why would you ask that stupid question? Well, the purpose for asking that question is to help put people in a position where they understand, oh, like, that's a good point. I really don't know anything about this. Right. So what that does is it establishes us as the professional or as the expert in this field. So it's literally just putting it out there into the world for them to say, oh, okay, I'm not the expert on this. I don't know everything about it, but I'm apparently talking to the right person that does. So that's really all that is. Okay, go on.
Right. And so then within our system, once they say that, I can easily come back with, well, don't worry about it. Because the first thing we're going to do is a studio tour. And in that studio tour, and I just kind of go through my thing, but because we have this studio tour and then we have the in-home consultation, I can tell them that we've got them because we've got these processes that they're going to go through. And then for the part where they don't know what to do with their portrait, Sam does a really good job in the sales room of having things out. We've got 5 options. That's it. It's not overwhelming unless you get into frames. Then it's like, but he's got his options. And when he talks to people, like, what do you think you want to do? It's A, B, C, or D. And he walks them through the process. And I think because we've touched on it prior, we touched on it in the home consult of like a wall portrait would look great right here, or whatever it is, or like when they do a series and they're like, well, we don't really know what we do with, what was it, tennis with that kid the other day? He was like, I don't really want to do tennis because I don't know what we do with it. And it's like, well, tennis would be a great thing for an album because it shows kind of one of the things you do, but you don't necessarily need to hang that on your wall per se. So we introduce those things throughout, and then in the sales room, I think if you had a ton of options, people would feel completely overwhelmed.
Well, and that's what I started with. If you looked at my old price list, there was like, and I think so many photographers do that. They're like, oh, well, I have to have mouse pads and I got to have 5x7s and 3.5x5s and stickers and everything because they have this belief that, well, I have to throw a bunch of fluff in there to make it worth what it is because you feel like you're asking way more than you deserve for that picture or whatnot. And so that just comes with the time. But real quick, shout out to Shane and Margaret. Thank you for joining us. I just saw that they were in there.
Yep.
So, okay. So, and then the other thing about this, and one of the reasons we do all these extra steps are ultimately to prepare for that sale. There's so much more that goes into preparing for that sale. In my mind, the whole experience is all about preparing for the sale. I drove out to Nampa the other day. It was about 30 minutes to a client's house that we're actually shooting tomorrow morning. And it was a long drive. And I literally was there for like 10 minutes. And they were like, they made comments like, well, make sure if you have any questions, ask him. The poor guy just drove like forever to get out here. And again, like, my whole focus in that is to show them that like I'm there to make sure that they're fully aware and prepared and ready to go. And I want them to have that warm, fuzzy feeling of like, wow, this guy just drove like a long ways just to make sure that we're ready for this shoot. But it also gave me an opportunity to say, okay, well, when they were like, well, I want to do pictures at his high school, right? And they just lived down the road from the high school. And one of the things that we often hear our clients complain about is like if they drive from like clear across Boise and then we go shoot in Boise and then we drive back here to get their car so that they can drive back home. Yeah. And so that was one of those things. I was like, you know what, guys, honestly, why don't we meet at your house Tuesday morning? Because then that way you don't have to drive into Boise, get in my car, drive back here, and then drive back to Boise to get in your car and drive back home. So those are the little things that ultimately add up to the customer just feeling like you're taking better care of them. And those are hearing the issues or the problems that people have and solving those problems. Okay, go on.
Ron, can I get my next one?
It's all you. Yep,
okay.
Next one.
So I'm going back to another thing that you do really well because I think you are a very good problem solver. when you want to solve them.
But I like to make lots of problems.
Yeah.
Is that where we're going? Is that where we're going with this? Them. Okay, so what's the next one?
Okay, so often, this is another thing that we hear a lot in the sales room, I feel like. A parent will come in, this is maybe their second senior or their third senior, and they're like, okay, well, I like this all, and this was a great experience, but I didn't do this for my older kids, so I can't do all of this for this kid because then they're going to think they're the favorite. And we can't let our kids know that we actually have favorites, right? So one of the things that I think you do quite well is often, as long as they have a print release, then Sam's like, well, you don't have to worry about that because if you still have the images from Bob, then we can print his pictures too. I don't know. That was the first name that came up. But so just being able to do that in the sales room and solve that problem in the moment when in their mind they're like, they do, because they really do get worked up by it. And they're like, well, I can't do this for her.
Yeah, people are so worried about everything being
it has to be
the same.
Yeah, so have those options. It's not, if they have a print release, who gives a flying hoot if you're printing somebody else's picture at the same time you're printing, if it's going to increase your sales.
So is this one fresh in your mind just because of the other day?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other day this actually happened to me. I can't even remember who it was. But what was funny about it was she was looking at a grouping for the child that was there. Why can I not think of who it was?
I don't know. I'll look.
But anyway, she was looking at a grouping, which was like a $2,200 grouping. And I told her, I said, honestly, we can do the same thing if you have the pictures of your other kid and you're looking, because you already own the rights to the pictures and you're just printing them through me, you're looking at a difference of cost of like $250 for that grouping versus $2,200. And she's like, oh my gosh, well, that's great. It ended up that she didn't even do that. She bought one single picture, but she framed it. And then the frame, she chose a frame that was kind of expensive. So she ended up spending $900 on the other kid to match it. Did you realize that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
actually.
So it went from like a $250 to $900 sale, and it was a healthy frame sale. I mean, because it was like it was almost $1,800 or $1,500 in frames.
I can't come up with who it was.
I can't think of who it was either. But that did literally just happen the other day, and that's one of those things that that was a problem that we regularly had. Clients that would come in and do that, and it would paralyze me. I'd be like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? But that was one of the things that I learned is that, okay, well, like, hey, I can help you get the same quality of product done for that child, because what was the purpose of getting those digitals back then? So that you could do it yourself. Well, you never did it. So let's just go ahead and take care of it now and make it work out in the best for you. And then I'll even come in and hang them all for you.
Well, and I think it even elevates what you offer. And if they have if we're on senior number 2 and we're going to senior number 3, it shows them that this is the point of going, I hate saying the professional, but to deviate between that and the shoot and burn, that is one of the perks or one of the things.
Yes, that's one of the perks. Even the shoot and burn, they're doing their job well.
Yes, but I'm saying for the canvas hanging or wall portraits.
But if that's all they offer, then they're doing a great job at offering that. It's just that it depends on what the customer demands, like what customers' needs are.
Right,
so
and that's what we're trying to solve.
Typically, we like to help our customers realize that they have bigger needs or that we can take care of their issues, so they don't have to go run to another store or go to Michael's or whatever to get frames.
Figure out glass,
exactly.
All that kind of crap.
And we can offer ourselves as an expert in that scenario. Okay, what's next?
One of the other ones that I think we've solved, you solved before it's happened, but I've noticed it happening more and more because in our area, we've had a huge influx of people from out of state moving in. Mm-hmm. So I hear a lot of times, I don't know where to go. I don't know what locations. I don't know what would look best. But Sam already has a system in place where the client is transported in our car. Mm-hmm. And he's got his insurance and all that crap in a row. You can talk to him about those ducks. But I think giving them that assurance that Sam has been shooting in the area for 25 years, and we've got all these things. And the lady the other day was the Taylors where she like came in for her studio tour and she looked at some grad cards and she's like, I want this spot and I want this spot and I want, so she's like holding these grad cards and she's like, these are my locations. And so just being able to have that, like, go out and drive around and find locations and don't expect the client to always know where they want to go. Because if you have that set up, especially in our area, now you get
that's actually one of the things that I've seen with clients when they come in for the in-home or for the first studio tour. That's one of their biggest stressors is they're like, I don't know what to choose for locations. And that's something that I've spent a lot of time driving around. Literally, like I've literally driven north, south miles and just kind of worked myself across the valley, like looking for locations. Now, when we go out on shoots, I oftentimes will be looking for other locations wherever we're driving. And yeah, I'll be the first to admit right now, I'm a little bit stagnant in my locations. So I'm always eager when a client has locations that they want to suggest. And it's even somewhat fun to be able to take what clients suggest and be like, okay, well, I don't know how the lighting's going to be, but we're going to do our best to make it work. So it's a little bit more of a challenge aspect. But we always tell customers when they sit down and they're stressed about that, we say, don't stress about that. That's something we're going to talk about in the in-home consultation. But I can tell you right now that you don't have to know the locations you want. If you have something that you want, give it to me. We'll make it happen. But otherwise, we're going to ask you a couple of specifics and we're going to make those locations happen for you. So that's definitely been something that I have noticed helps people a lot. And again, it's years of listening to all the different things, the issues that people have when they sit down and you can hear. The other one that we haven't quite figured out, and I've flirted with this before, is like people struggle with like what to wear. Yeah. Like that's like a huge issue. They're like, I don't even know what to buy. And one of the things that we've done is we've said, shop at these stores. In fact, we had a client not too long ago that we said, go to these stores and they will literally outfit you from head to toe and everything you need. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. We're going there tonight. And so again, those are just little things that you can do to really excel and be a little bit better than the guy next door or whatever. So,
well, I think too, I think some photographers solve that problem with the closets. Like I know those can work really well. Yeah. But you're pretty good about telling them you want it to be clothes that represents who they are and things like that.
Not so just what the trend is or what everybody else wore. There's
something really cool about that. Like sometimes I'm frustrated because like we see outfits and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what the heck?
Like the one that we had with Bella.
Yeah. But then once you like get to know them and they're done up and you put them in the environment and
you're like, okay, this really fits your personality.
Absolutely fits who you are, and it was so perfect. Like.
That one was amazing with Bella, and it's really fun. I think my favorite part of it is like telling the story about it, and I've showed clients that I'm like, this is like I didn't go to the in-home consultation because that was the night that we messed everything up. Yeah, and I didn't say you, I said we, but that was the night Mia messed everything up. She went to the consultation, she got the pictures, she sent them to me, and I was like.
Yeah, he was not.
I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this girl? She looks frumpy. Like,
and I'm sitting here going, no, she's so cute. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I was not even looking forward to her shoot. And especially after seeing that one picture. And so now I show it to people. I'm like, this is like, when I got the picture, I was like, what the heck am I going to do with it? And then when we took the picture, as soon as that picture snapped in camera and I looked at it, I was like, holy crap. Like, she fits this. Yeah. This look, this vibe, like 100%, and it was amazing. If you
guys want to see it, go over to the TikTok.
It is on TikTok,
and you can see the TikTok of Bella Dobbs. It's up there.
Yeah, so that's a fun one.
Yeah.
I could even pull up the link and post it in here.
You can.
Okay, you talk.
Okay,
what's the next one?
The next one I have is one that I kind of solve. Well, I'm a mom of 5 kids, so like tragedy happens in my house all the time.
Your house is tragedy.
My house is tragedy, right?
Oh, dear. I don't know what's going on here. I went to TikTok, and it's not.
Sam's down
there
the
we
rabbit
go.
hole.
Okay. No, it just popped up. It was
when we do the studio tour and we go into where we show them like where we work with the canvases and we build everything. One of the stories I tell them is about this one family that we made these wall portraits for their home, got them all installed. They loved them. Maid came cleaning the stairs. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah,
and the maid hits with her broom hits the canvas falls down, like who knows, whatever happens, but the mom calls just frantic, and we're like, dude, it's all good, like their lifetime warranty will replace. She's like, no, you don't understand, I can't lose my maid, like it has to be done now. My husband gets home at like 3 or something, and she's like, I have to have the replacement like now. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was like the twins, right?
Yeah, it's the twins. So we were back there frantically redoing it. But so I tell people, like, if a Nerf gun battle goes wild and things happen, all you have to do is call. Like, the whole point of having a wall portrait is that it can be replaced, and you have the digital. We can replace it. You've got a lifetime warranty. And the other one that I like to sell. Oh, go ahead.
What's funny is like I've offered that. I started offering that lifetime warranty from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. I was like, what if people like just take advantage of it? But I think duplicates? Maybe 3 times I've ever had issues. One of the most expensive ones was the one you're getting ready to hold up.
Yeah, it is.
I had a client that sent me a message, and she's like, oh my gosh, how much would it cost me to have a new album redone? I know this sounds crazy, but our dog ate her album. And so Mia's going to show you that one. Yeah. This was a
no
first.
Joke, guys. Like, this is the dog really, truly, you see it? Ate the album. Oh, crap. Like, it's falling apart on my desk. Well, there's the inside pieces. And she was, 2016?
I don't know.
Yeah, 2016. So, yes, it was extra money.
It was expensive,
to replace it.
But like
she was so happy.
Yeah, she was.
We got to her house and we gave her the album, and she was just like, yeah.
She was ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
And it is a small price. I mean, you think about it. If you pay an insurance premium to protect your car for when it gets hit, or if you get an accident. So to spend $180 on an album for that peace of mind, like I can't tell you how often people, like, again, it's just a selling point. It's just like, I'll come hang the pictures for you. Don't worry, these pictures have a lifetime warranty. Heaven forbid your house ever burned down.
Right.
It's just a selling point. And like I said, the canvases are nothing. They cost me like nothing to replace or to repair. It's just the time. Albums, those are a lot worse, but canvases are the most common one to like fall off a wall or get bumped off a wall. Albums almost never have any issues, so that was kind of a one-off crazy situation.
Right.
But again, like we made an impression on that family with what we did. And while we were there, I think we even talked about doing family pictures again soon, which is something we can work on. But yeah.
But I think too, it's solving the problem before they even know they have the problem. It's just giving them that assurance that like, we've got your back. We're going to solve this problem, and it might never happen, but if it does. Like,
and the more you do it, the more you're going to recognize the problems that are going to come up, so that you can have those as selling points or problem-solving actions beforehand. Because a lot of times people don't realize it. People don't realize what they want of your photography or of product when they come in. Like, that blows my mind. How is it that people go through a full photo session, get hair and makeup done,
right.
spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on clothing,
right? That
and no expectation or thought of
what happens after.
We didn't even think about what we were going to do with the pictures.
Yeah.
Like,
we get it all the time.
All the time. Unbelievably. It blows my mind. I had it on the wrong on you that whole time.
Oh, awesome.
So,
is it off? Yeah.
Yep, now it's on you. It's back on you. Okay, what's the next one?
Okay, so I have 2 more. The next one I have a lot of times we're kind of getting an influx of boy moms again, like boy seniors. And they're like, well, he just kind of doesn't want to do it. I never get a real smile out of him. And I think part of this is personality, but I think because we have that system in place where we meet them at the studio tour and they become a little bit more comfortable. We meet them in their home on their own ground where dude, one boy answered the door the other day.
In his underwear?
He was in his underwear. And Sam's like, did you even realize he was in his underwear? And I'm like, wait, what? Like, whoa. No.
Oh, so
like, no, I
uncomfortable.
didn't realize he was in his underwear. But if we meet him on their own ground where they're comfortable, I think it just breaks down those barriers. And then having him in the car, Sam asks some questions as soon as we get in the car, like, what's your favorite color? What do you plan to do after school? And all these things are just kind of breaking down those teenage barriers between Sam and the senior.
And I think...
And we get great smile. Well, then Sam comes up with stupid stepbrother quotes or whatever, or he picks on me, or we play slug bug, and they're like, what the hell are you doing hitting a girl? And I'm like, don't you not hit, like... So part of it's environment, but I think it does solve that problem.
And a lot of times, like, just the funny stories we have about the questions we ask.
Yeah.
Like some of the funny, like some of the questions... Some of the questions that I do often ask are like, well... And this one has caused a lot of challenge. Like, how many boyfriends do you have, or how many girlfriends do you have? One of the other questions I always ask, or I used to ask until it got really creepy and weird, was I would ask the question, like, if you could do anything and get away with it without any legal consequences, what would you do? And I had a girl that was like, I'd kill someone. And I was like, shit, that was really fast response. Like, did you have somebody in mind? And she's like, yep. And I was like, oh, dang. So, like, those awkward moments, like the time last year when I'd asked a girl how many boyfriends she had, and she's like, I don't date boys, I date girls. And I was like, well, there's another problem-solving issue. I was like, how do I make it so that I can ask that question or make a joke about it to get them to laugh? And so what I came up with was I asked people who their celebrity crushes are. First, and if they give me a guy or a girl, then I'm like, okay, well, then I can ask them how many boyfriends they have or whatever.
I'm just waiting for the first person that gives you, like, a guy and a girl, and then I'm going to just, like,
and then I'll just shut up. I'll just be like, whatever, I guess I don't know what to tell you there. So, but those are always fun things. I do look for the light and the fun of everything, and I value story, and so that's why, for me, all those experiences are the great selling points or opportunities in how I get to share story with my clients to really level that playing field. One of the things that I've noticed that's huge in what we do versus what it used to be, people used to be really uncomfortable in front of the camera and awkward. Now we don't ever deal with that. Like, I think it's got to be showing the pictures on the back of the camera that really helps them just like relax and chill. And so that's kind of like that's one of those things I just don't deal with anymore. I don't know if any of you guys deal with that, just that awkward. And I think a lot of it is that we've already met them multiple times. They're already comfortable, ready. There's no weird anything.
Even so, there's been a few instances where the girls they've felt confident but slightly uncomfortable in items they've tried. I'm thinking like Gia, where she loved this outfit that she had, but she was like, oh,
she felt it was too sexy for her.
She was a little worried it was too sexy, or that, and you did show her the back of the camera, and we're like, look, this is how it looked, and she's like, oh, okay, and then she calmed into it, and then she took some amazing pictures.
Yeah, but then even after that, like, Mom sent us a message and was like, will you make sure that, like, any of those ones you post have no sex appeal to them?
Right. So she was obviously very conscious of that, and we've had it happen a few times. But I think you're right, showing the back of the camera and giving them that chance to settle into it.
We kind of, like, this whole problem-solving thing, we're kind of talking a lot about that specifically, about photography and working with clients specifically. But there's also other problems that we run into in our business that we're not really. Did you come up with any of those?
No, but maybe that's a good thing for next week.
A good thing for next week?
I don't know.
Well, I guess for me, like, my point is that there's, like, even just in running a business, like, we have issues like employment issues or, right now we're dealing with a lot of systems that aren't being followed, like, from all of us. Like, we're all, like, just got really lax this year and kind of so like, those are all things that, like, we've created systems to eliminate problems, but then, like, what do we do when we fall back into old habits and different things like that? And so I think the biggest thing, especially when working with clients, is just listening. It really is just all about listening and hearing what your clients are saying. Sometimes, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes we get a little arrogant and we think our shit don't stink, and so we have a tendency to overlook those things. I know a lot of photographers have that arrogant, like, or almost like a coping mechanism of dealing with issues from people, like everybody else is wrong. I've done this long enough that I know what I'm doing. Like everybody else is wrong. And so I would urge you to always have that that responsible mentality. Like, how can I be responsible for this? In dealing with Rylan and his football team, like I've seen that a lot. Like nobody's responsible for anybody. It's everybody else's fault. All the kids on the sidelines are like, I can't believe I'm a part of this stupid effing team. Like, and it's like, I'm like, look within yourself. Like, at what point do you take responsibility for yourself and realize that the reason you guys aren't winning is because you're not working together as a team? Last week we got to see for the first time, they actually kicked like their most toxic player off the team the day before.
That's right. You told me that.
And they had the best game of their life. And they almost, it's sad to say, they almost won. But it literally, it was one of those things. And I think that people, photographers, we all struggle sometimes, and it's kind of our coping mechanism to deal with things by blaming others. And, you know, I'm the first to admit, you know, the issues that are going on in my business are typically a result of something I'm doing. So whether it be not paying attention well, or being too lackadaisical, or just not, you know, being a good leader, all those different things. So what are you reading?
Well, it sounded like you were wrapping it up, and I was working on one of your videos from the 2021 imaging review. Review. Our reviews of imaging, like our takeaways from imaging this last year.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that I wrote down was a quote. I don't remember who it was because these are just like number notes, but how easy is it for people to do business with you? The expectations of customers have changed, so you need to innovate and solve their problems. And so it just, as you were talking about that, it just reminded me of that. Like, customers, they're all out there, and if it's really hard for them to get to you or to do business with you because you're not solving any of their problems, they're going to find somebody who will solve their problems.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's our problem.
Maybe that's our problem. We should probably solve it.
we make it too hard to. Well, but at the same time, like a lot of it, because in this industry, we have a tendency to we get really busy. We're overworked and underpaid, and so we start to raise our prices and we start to set boundaries, policies and procedures, which I've said this time and time again, creating policies and procedures. Yes, you have to have some. Like, without question, you have to have some policies and procedures. But at the same time, when your policies and procedures only protect you and not your client, then you're just harming yourself. And so, yeah, we've been in business a long time, and maybe we have created policies and systems that have made it harder for people to do business with us. And that's something that we have to take a good hard look at, because, yeah, we have created a lot of barriers to entry.
I was gonna say, but it's also you creating that red rope.
Yeah.
And getting the right customers.
I look at some of the things, like some of our competitors here locally. Like, I was looking at one of the photographers that we've lost a few clients to this year.
Yes.
And one of the things that, like, I see that, like, is exciting, like, they offer night shoots and different stuff like that. And we used to do stuff like that. However, the big difference, and maybe this is me making excuses, but I have employees to deal with who have to have some sort of...
You have to deal with me?
Well, you and Dylan, like, you guys, like, when it was just me, I could set whatever schedule. Or when it was just me and a video guy who was originally my nephew, like, I could just set a schedule because he was always with me. Now we find that we have families we want to be with. We don't want to spend every weekend shooting pictures. We don't want to be out shooting till sunset every night during the summer. No. It's been really nice this year having a lot of those days available. But what cost does it come at? And are we willing to accept that cost? And really, this all boils down to looking at, like, what our year has been and what problems we can solve. I think if you take that mentality and that approach to your business, like if you look at it on the regular and say, okay, what are the things that I've experienced so much in my business? Like, what are the things that have hurt? What are the things that have been good? What are the growing pains? And what can I fix? And sometimes when you sit down and look at it, what you think you're fixing is really a deeper root of something else. For us, it was, lots of different things. Like our turnaround time can sometimes be a disaster. And you would think, okay, well, that's because of ordering and processing and stuff like that. But when it really boils down to it, sometimes it's just about not having the right funds available for albums that need to be ordered and stuff like that. And so those were things that we had to recognize and be like, okay, well, we got to fix that, and where we thought that problem was, was completely different.
Well, and I think you have to be open, like when you're trying to solve problems, you have to be open to that change, because sometimes we get so set in our habits or so set in our routines that the problem almost is ourself not being able to just be like, hey, we're going to try this. We wanted to eliminate sunsets. Well, not eliminate sunsets, decrease the amount of sunsets. So we're like, okay, we'll do mornings. And then all of a sudden, like now school's back in and we're like, oh shoot, now Mia, I'm talking about myself. But I've got kids to get to school. So like I can't do mornings as well. So then it's like, okay, well then we have to only do it on these weeks. So like there's all those little growing pains that you're going to go through.
Yeah, you're a pain.
I am a pain.
You're a
But
pain.
my point is, like, you have to keep trying. Like, you can't just go, okay, well, that didn't solve the problem the first time I tried. Like, so let's pivot. Let's pivot or tweak it and keep with it for a while. And sooner or later, you're going to find all those little problems that eventually solved that one that you started with.
Yeah.
Rather than giving up. Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. And again, look at like when you have a problem or something that you constantly feel challenged with, like you feel like it's just keeping you down or hurting, just look at it, evaluate it, and determine, okay, where's this really coming from? And what can I do? Because that really boils down to it. Like if we have a tendency to blame everything in our life on everything else and all the other people, guess what? When we look at our business, we're not typically going to say, what can I do different? What can I fix? It's like I have somebody that like is struggling with scheduling and all that stuff, and every photographer I've ever dealt with out there is like, I just need more of me. I need to hire someone. And that's like
Stop using me as an excuse.
No, I didn't say Mia. I'm just saying. I'm saying I need more of me.
Oh, more of me.
So I need to hire an assistant. That I wasn't saying you specifically.
But I do. We hear that a lot. From
we
our
hear
friends.
it a ton.
I just need a Mia.
But oftentimes, like, where is that give and take? Because if you do hire an assistant, you got a lot of expense.
They come with their own problems.
They come with additional problems. A lot of. I'm just
hey.
But there's so much more to it. So if the payoff like ultimately returns back better than like, but a lot of times photographers are making that decision when they're like they're struggling to even make ends meet, and the reward is not worth the risk because they're like, I don't ever get any time with my family, but I'm still just not making enough money and I can't do this, so I'm going to hire an assistant. Sometimes that's not the right thing. Sometimes it's just about finding, an online outsource to do this, or outsourcing some of those things. Like, for instance, your calling and editing, that kind of thing. You don't necessarily have to have a full-time assistant to take care of all those things. You just have to look at the issue. But take responsibility for yourself, because that's really the first and most important thing. Because it's really easy to place the blame on other people.
Yeah.
So
and listen to your customers; they'll tell you their problems. And just
for the most part, some of them, I'm like, some of the problems I don't think they tell us. Well, but that's for a whole different conversation.
There you go.
So, anyway, guys, that is. Do we have any questions? Any thoughts?
Come on, everybody's been really quiet.
A little bit. Tim's flirting with Tasha.
Tasha just got a new house. Happy new house.
I know, but she got it a while ago, and we've said that multiple times.
Well, she moved in. She put it up on Facebook that they finally moved in. They were in their driveway, and they're like, yes.
Did they just finally move? I thought they moved in a long time ago.
No, I didn't think so. Or
maybe I'm losing my mind.
Maybe I am. Who knows?
Anyway, she says
thanks
thank
anyway.
You.
Whatever.
We love you, Tasha, and Tim, and everybody else. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today.
I think that's pretty much it. I had one other on there.
Yeah,
but
she
it's
says
not
yes
one.
6 weeks ago.
Oh, 6 weeks isn't forever.
That's a month and a half ago. That's clear back in summertime.
Oh my gosh, shut up. So, what's our book of the month?
Anyway, we gotta go now.
Solving some problems.
Yeah.
Solving some problems.
My customers are telling me that they don't even read them. It's fresh, Mia, she says.
Mia is right. I like Tasha.
Well, no, it's not that. She was saying
Mia is
it's
right.
fresh
Right
about,
after. It's fresh.
about moving in.
Mia is right.
What do you shove? I caught the biggest fish of my life yesterday. just so everybody knows. And when Bart sees this, I currently have the record for bass on my boat. Just on my boat. And in Swan Falls and Snake River. You could have gone. Oh, wait, no, I invited you the other day.
You do it too early. I have children that have to go to school.
Boo-hoo-hoo.
No, you just don't want me on the boat, so you're making all these excuses.
Oh, my. No, I invite you and you don't want to go.
No, that's not true.
All right, guys. Peace out, Girl Scout.